So, welcome to another episode of Zero Calorie Marketing. Today, I have the privilege and pleasure of welcoming Karen Kingdom, a lovely alliteration there, who is the director of PowWow Creative and is an independent creative consultant.
Absolutely, that's right. Yeah, I do the two different jobs. I divide my time equally.
And like before this, we had a long pause because this room wasn't available because someone was having a meeting. More important than Zero Calorie Marketing podcast. Can you believe it? We're like, come on, dude. We've got guests waiting.
Yeah, this is royalty just here. So creative royalty.
Karen Kingdom royalty. There's a nice play.
Are you going to do that all the way through this?
Probably.
Okay.
So let's get straight into it. Mm-hmm. Can you give us an example of how you helped a company's brand and design make it more customer focused?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that sounds like a bit of an interview question, but it is a good question. I work a lot in B2B. And I work a lot with software as a service companies. So, and that's stuff we use in our daily lives. Everyone does. So it's really important. Might not sound very exciting, but it involves a lot of AI. And actually it is when you get into it. But like a lot of these companies, they're very product-based. Mm. And when they're product-based, they're very good at talking about themselves and who they are and use kind of I a lot. But it's less about you and less about the customer. So this particular example is in an area in an industry area where they needed to have that narrative and that vision to help connect more with the customers and their prospects. They realised that they were missing that. And I think also they are unrivaled in their expertise. But the problem is you've got a lot of new tech companies out there chomping at the bit, biting at their heels. Also, you've got big tech companies that are kind of squashing them as well. So they really needed to find a voice and to help develop a brand strategy. So what I actually did is I went to their offices in New York and in London and I ran work. Oh no, it was brilliant. It was great. I attached a little holiday to the end as well, and ran workshops for them and helped with develop their vision, mission and values, turned that into the brand strategy document, brand guidelines, and then that really helped form the foundation of the messaging and the comms that came out with it. So that was very much about taking a company that was really good about talking about themselves, but really flipping it and being able to engage with the customer and their marketing from there, which has really kind of helped them, and they're still using it today, which is great.
It's always fantastic when you see your work in action and it kind of lives on in its own and it has its own life. And I agree with you. A lot of the times when we go to our customers, we just say, hey, what are your customers' biggest problems and how are you solving them? And, get them to answer that. But this isn't about me. This is next up, you've got a very creative and art and, kind of design background. How do you turn general business goals into specific creative designs? We work with a lot of SaaS companies, software companies, and it's very hard to kind of make something intangible kind of tangible. How do you go about doing that?
That's a good question. So trying to dig deep there, I think the main thing is collaboration from the beginning. So because business goals, like you say, it's really important to know them, and knowing the business goals and marrying them then with your comms, is the secret to success. So really to do that, I think you need to go in from the top. You need to talk to the right people, the senior leadership team, talk about their business goals and really understand them. I think that's part of our jobs as creative, is to get under the skin of a company and understand that, because once you know that, you're more likely to get an outcome and which they love and really kind of hits the right chords. So start at the top. It's my recommendation. Talk to the senior leadership team, then talk to the broader team, brainstorm ideas together. I think that's the thing, it shouldn't be you have a marketing team and creatives work separately. You've got to kind of join forces. And I hope what I've done over the years is forge good relationships with my clients. So they actually kind of call us their partners rather than their agency, because we've bothered to get to learn them and learn about them and understand. And then you can take that learning, that vision and the business goals and turn it into kind of practical marketing strategies.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like the customer doesn't care who created the strapline. or the customer doesn't care, the product, the colorful wrapping paper or whatever, chocolate bar or whatever. They just care that it satisfies their needs when they actually,
Absolutely. And branding is all about engaging with your customers with the right message to get that loyalty. You have to share the same values. I think now more than ever, we're more understanding of marketing creative. If anything, people are a bit suspicious of it. So to speak from the heart as a company, to understand what your vision and your mission and your goals are, is absolutely key for your customers to understand, because they're more likely to buy from you than from anyone else and get that loyalty that they want.
No, I agree with you completely. You've got a very kind of like a smorgasbord of companies.
I like that. And I'm hungry, so
we can get some pizza. So essentially, you worked within aerospace, you worked for SaaS, you've also worked for traditional, service businesses. How, and you've obviously got your own kind of signature, or I guess your own kind of design and ideas. How do you go about keeping the approach same?
Well, like I said, I do work a lot in B2B over so many different sectors over the years in different ones. But actually, what I've realised, there's a pattern and there's a link to it all. And I think mainly they all share the same problems. So if they share the same problems, I can take my experience that I've gained over the years and my understanding and take it to the next customer, because the challenges are very similar. So whether, like I said previously, it's because of competition, the competition changes over the years. So I'm able to kind of help them succeed. And I have the same approach. And it's all about educating yourself about who they are. Like I say, I've got this 5-pronged approach that I take into every company that I go to. But it's just the answers will be different and you tailor them differently. So first is to learn. Like I said, get under the skin of the customer, learn what they do. They like that and they respect it. Secondly is to get to know their customer. And if they're actually not sure, then do a persona program with them, because it's really important to know who you're targeting. Secondly, the strategy, make sure they've got the strategy, they've got the narrative, they've got the message right. I think fourth is to develop the marketing plan then. So from all that, you have a plan that obviously you need to look at routes to market. What's going to work for you? Is it going to be social? Is it going to be video? Is it going to be viral? Is it going to be webinars? Is it going to be attending events? How are you actually going to implement it? What themes are you going to talk about? And then finally, it's the implementation. So it's the actual launching, the action plan, the scheduling, and the content, and creating the actual design. So it's funny, as a designer, there's so much that goes on first to actually lead to your end result, to make it work and to make it a success.
So I know you probably can't say your favorite, but do you have a favorite out of your 5? Do you get more pleasure out of, really sitting down and getting to under the skin of the company, or do you get more fun? Do you find yourself getting more joy out of when you're actually done the process and you're actually changing the website or changing the brochure or the guidelines or even creating content?
I like it all. I probably like the beginning and the end. I'm a bit of a complete finisher. So, and the middle part, the marketing, I work with a lot of companies that have marketing departments. So actually, they're the experts in marketing and I'm the creative. So we kind of come together. That's why the brainstorming aspect is really important. So it's probably the first bit, that discovery phase, and working out what it is they want to say. Because actually sometimes they're so inward looking, they can't see out, and they need someone objective to come along to shine the light on what makes them unique. And then, of course, doing the design. That's my core. I did graphic design when I was younger. That's my degree. It's what I did in the kind of the first half of my career path, really, is be a designer in agencies. So now to be able to add more stages to that is actually quite satisfying.
And can you, without naming names, are there any companies where you've gone in and they've taken your guidance and your feedback you finished, but then they've kind of interpreted it in ways that you didn't expect them to?
I haven't actually seen that. I guess what you do over the years, you've got to understand that you're not going to work with the same clients that you work with at the beginning to the end. People do evolve and move on. And actually, it is the moving on of people that often does that. So I might work for a company, work with a marketing team. They start leaving, someone else comes in and brings that agency, and that's fine. So I don't think, well, often, because we've done that work to help understand them, we actually do the work, we carry on the work afterwards because we've created a good relationship with them. So rarely do we do that part of the project and then we don't do any work for them anymore. So we see it through and we implement it. They might get other people on board. I work with other agencies. That's absolutely fine from our guidance, but also vice versa. Other people might have developed the strategy and the guidelines and I'm working with them. But it's good because I understand how branding works and I understand it's important what they've developed and to carry that through in the work.
You know, the reason I was actually asking that is because we have a few clients where they have hired a strategist in or they've hired someone else in, and we usually get like a document. I can't really say the name, but there's a major fast food restaurant that we
okay. Oof. I'm guessing.
We got a 49-page brand guideline,
right,
which dictated almost every single part of how everything should look, which is amazing. But the only small issue was the person who'd actually given us the brief had just started like literally a week or 2 weeks ago. So and the deadline was really, really quick. So we actually brought this person in to the shoot to say, hey, can we be consistent? You know, we tried to follow the guidance as much as possible. But in the end, there was, there were lots of things that we kind of didn't understand, or the client who was actually working for the company just wasn't caught up enough. So in the end, we actually ended up having to redo the whole thing, and that was quite painful for us because we'd spent a good chunk of time preparing for it. But you know, these are the kind of things that sometimes happen from the receiver's end of, you know, documenting things that you guys do.
Yeah, and that does happen, and I agree with you. So there's a project I've been working on and it all went off, and then suddenly someone senior saw it and felt like it wasn't on brand, but we'd followed the brand guidelines. So it's frustrating. So first of all, I'm like, damn. But then I think actually it's fine because we can get this to work, and it's my job as a supplier to be helpful, not be negative. So I think in those situations, you've got to have a positive energy about these things, and actually you will get through it. And you will help the client. And I really believe you need energy all the way through. So even when things don't go according to plan, there's always a solution and a way around it. And hopefully you'll win over the person you're working with, but also the person who was calling the shots and saying it wasn't right in the first place.
I mean, it worked out well in the end because it was a fast food restaurant, we had a whole load of food we got to take home.
Oh, that's good.
Quite delicious food, actually. Pity I can't name the restaurant, but it was really good stuff.
Style of food?
Can't say.
Okay. I'll ask you afterwards.
And every time I go into this chain of restaurants, I always order the thing that we actually shot with because it was genuinely delicious. It was 3 days worth of food. You know, when you're doing food shoots, you end up having loads and loads of different types of the same thing. So we actually got to eat it all. So it wasn't all that bad in the end. Left a sweet taste in my mouth.
Okay, another clue.
Or say,
please email your answers.
If you think you know the answers, team who didn't work out, you're excluded. Teams and family members. And there'll be a £5 reward for that chain of restaurants.
A voucher.
I'm being too generous here. No, maybe £1. We're tight budget here. What are some advice that you'd give to someone who's just starting out in marketing?
Someone who's just started out in marketing.
From what you've seen in experiences.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not a marketer, I'm a creative person. So I sit on the other side of the fence. But like I say, collaboration is really important. But I'm also, I'm good friends with a lot of marketers as well. So I think the advice that I can give is, I can't give advice on the actual practicality to the job they do, but I think I can share some advice on kind of more emotive reasons to kind of, what could motivate you. And I think one of those things is making sure you've got a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
So whether you are starting out and you're new and you're young, or whether you've been working for a long time and you feel a bit disgruntled in what you do and you might want to think about working independently, a bit like what I did, I worked in agencies and then started up. You've just got to have a real purpose, because if you're not passionate about what you do, then it can really go the wrong way. So always have a sense of purpose, and your purpose shouldn't be, I'm really annoyed with my boss, so I'm going to get another job, or and do what you're passionate about and what you want to do. Marketing today is a very different beast to how it was when I started it in the industry. Market was quite blanket, everyone did everything, and now it's very niche in the skill sets of marketing, and it's great actually, because then you become a real expert in something. So I guess some advice there would be, also, don't get rid of what you don't want to do and do more of what you do and refine that expertise, because that expertise will be really key when you then go off to find other work. I think my other kind of advice would be to stay connected. It's really important, and to build connections if you're young and stay connected. Most of my work and that I get is from people that I know. Absolutely. And people that I meet. Promote your successes on social media. Don't be scared about doing that.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, no, I know you don't. But it works, right? Because you build rapport, and like you said, you're front of mind. So that's really important, because, it's not just for you. You're promoting your brand. You're promoting yourself for what's next. And you can't do that by hiding behind a rock. You have to get yourself out there. So I think staying connected is really important. And my other thing would be to start building resilience, because in the creative industry, you need resilience. And that is, like I said, it's really about, resilience is about pushing yourself and being brave enough to move forward and build resilience, being able to cope when things don't work, because they don't, because you'll design stuff and produce stuff that people won't like, and it hurts. So you've got to realise that, not to take it personally and be professional about it. And like I said previously, you can fix it. There's always a solution. Just remain positive. So resilience is really important. And sometimes I have to sit there and say to myself, right, be resilient. And then I have a little word with myself, and it really helps. So I think having a purpose, staying connected, and building resilience are kind of qualities and advice that I would give people to have, and know your trade.
And I guess, when they're saying something, if they see something, they're not saying that about you. It's just a piece of creative that you created, and, you can't please everyone. And it's, I guess, you probably don't have this problem, but in the beginning, when I was running interesting content, I'd take things really personally, because I was like, I worked on this for weeks, and if they're not, and it wasn't about me, it was about, whatever we had created. And over the years of, right now, you kind of develop a kind of thick skin. You just like, we're pros, we can take whatever feedback you give us, kind of thing.
It still stings, right? Exactly. But what I think is your attitude towards it that changes.
Yeah.
So I think when you're starting up, you've got a hierarchy, and you're kind of at the bottom, and you have all these people to impress. So you rise up the hierarchy, but as you do, you become more experienced.
Yeah.
So you make less mistakes, and you learn, you become better at your crafts. And then I think actually it's running my own business that has actually made me more thick-skinned. But also, at the end of the day, you can only do your best.
Yeah, exactly.
And if your best isn't good enough, then maybe it wasn't a good match. I mean, that's rare that will happen, because, like I say, if you've had the right conversations with people to begin with to check that you're a right fit, because you're not going to want to work with everybody. And it's also about having values. If you promote who you are and what you believe in, you will attract the right people to work with. And you'll actually, interestingly, dispel who you don't. Because people will suss you out and work out who you are, and think, you're someone I can work with. Or they think, no, I don't think you are, and move on.
I mean, I think that advice works in life.
Yes,
Marketing.
definitely.
So we want to kind of go into more rapid fire questions.
Yeah, okay.
You're the first guest who's actually brought some props.
Okay.
So Karen, what are 3 must-read books for?
Well, I did think about this, and I did bring them in because books. I love books. Okay, but being a designer, I'm attracted to very nicely designed books. Of course, I pick my books a bit like my wine. I go with what the label looks like. But actually, some of them are really insightful. I love books that are about self-improvement. And this book is called Ikigai, and it's about Japanese secret to long and happy life. And the reason why I like this is if I turn on the back, it's very much, Ikigai is about purpose.
Yeah.
And Japanese people have purpose, and that really helps. So I guess what I've done is I've morphed my working life into my personal life, because it is all about who you are and purpose, professionally and personally as well. So I really like this book, and I recommend it if you kind of want to help make tweaks to your life, or work out kind of what your ambitions are. And it doesn't have to be big. It could be kind of like, I don't know, starting an allotment to climbing Mount Everest.
Yeah.
Everyone's got an ikigai, and this book really helps you define what it is. And that's kind of space I'm in at the moment. I think after working for kind of 20 plus years in the industry, I've had a real kind of look at what I want to do for the next 10 years. And that's why I've started to work independently, because I've taken all the skills that I've learned working for other people, owning the business, and I actually want to spend kind of the next 10, 15 years using my skills for good.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose that I've kind of created myself. And that's going to start shaping who I target as well as customers. I want to start working more in third sector. I have worked in with charities before. I've worked with Christian Aid, Water Aid. I want to work with companies that have a purpose. So maybe they do something to help the environment. So yeah, that is a really recommended book. The second one, actually, similarly, it's called The Journey, Big Panda and Tiny Dragon. Again, beautiful illustrations and a story. And it's about 2 characters that go on a journey together. And they're different characters, but when one feels dark, the other one brings light, and vice versa. I honestly, anyone should read this. I know this is going out after Christmas, so put it on, put it
in your Christmas list for next year.
Yeah, put it in your Christmas list. Well, no, sooner. So it's a really delightful story, and it is beautifully illustrated, and it hasn't got a lot of words. So
for those of you who like to watch nice pictures, Pauline and Natalia over there.
Yeah. So that is a beautiful book. Yeah. Recommend that. This next one really kind of pulls on my graphic design strings. Okay, it's called Chinesey, and I don't even know how I found it, but what it is teaching you Chinese symbols, but infusing it with illustration to help you remember it. Okay, so for instance, this is the word for fire. So it's all about what they've done is taken the symbols and then designed around it. So I don't know about you, but I'm really visual. Yeah. I learn visually. So at school, obviously it's art, geography, stuff that, I could visualise I was good at. The other stuff I wasn't so good at. So this really helps kind of illustrate that. So I really recommend Chinesey. Even my son, he copies the symbols and draws around them. So it's a really clever way to learn to simplify something that's quite complicated, and it's just beautifully designed as well.
I mean, I guess 3 different books, and they're kind of Eastern kind of philosophy, so that's quite interesting.
Yeah, I'm obviously leaning kind of that way.
We should do a podcast just about that, actually.
Yeah, good.
What are 3, I guess, podcasts or TED Talks that have inspired you?
Okay, well, I love podcasts. These aren't necessarily industry related, but I listen to a lot of Dr. Chatterjee's podcast, which is called Feel Better, Live More. And that's all about, again, it's about improving the way you live, the way you think about things. He does a weekly podcast, absolutely love it. My family are from Southampton, so I listen to it on long drives. And I find it really interesting. That kind of, again, it's that self-improvement. What can I do for my health? And he has really interesting people on it. The TED Talks I love as well. I probably try and listen to one a week. I'd sit down with a cup of tea and go, right, I'm going to listen to a TED Talk, totally inspiring. There's one in particular, I'm just trying to remember the name of it. I think I wrote it down actually because I wanted to say it so other people watch it as well.
You finally came prepared.
Well, there's one thing I wrote down. So, Where Joy Hides and Where to Find It by a lady called Ingrid Fetell-Lee, who is a designer. And it's about how you kind of use your environment to find joy and how things can make you happy and how colour can have a big effect on you. Honestly, watch it. It really kind of is so inspirational and beautiful. So if your head's a bit full and you're kind of feeling a bit weighted down by the world of marketing and customers and clients and design, just watch it and it really just kind of brings you back to nature a bit and resets those batteries.
You know what, Karen, sometimes like especially after you've done a big project, you feel like you've kind of finished it, and I think I might watch this because we've actually finished 3 projects today and we're waiting for feedback from one big project. So once that's done, I need to kind of clear my palate. So going away from that, we kind of talked about this just before we kind of started recording. Are there any people that you kind of follow in terms of not in real life?
Who I stalk.
Are there any people that you follow that can really inspire you?
So I don't follow so much. Yeah, exactly. Who inspires me or what inspires me? So as a designer, I love illustration and I love print as well, so like lino cut and stuff like that. So I follow a couple of illustrators online, one called Angela Harding. She's a lino cut artist, absolutely stunning work. I've tried to replicate it, I cannot do it. And there are other illustrators that I really like as well. There's one called, I've forgotten her first name, Sarah Sutton, I think it is. And she does daily journaling. So it was quite interesting. So I actually did this class, an online class, and it was a video class with her about how to journal your daily life and just draw. Because what I find is, working in the industry we work in, I'm a creative person, but I need an outlet that isn't what I do. I need to do something that doesn't necessarily answer a brief. I'm so tuned to answering a brief now. When I come to do something myself, like pick up a piece of paper and a pen and draw, I'm too critical. I'm my own worst enemy. So I follow these kind of people because I find it really inspiring and joyful to kind of look at their work. The other thing I like is mid-century design, actually. So people like Sol Bass and Paul Rand. Now, you can't follow them because they're dead, but you can follow people that post their work. And actually, I think it's coming back a bit because I noticed Eurostar have just done a redesign, and you should check it out because it epitomizes mid-century graphic design. So go and have a look at it and you'll see where I'm coming from. And that I'm very much inspired by that kind of flat artwork, illustration style, typographic kind of look.
I think with that's honestly a subject I'd love to learn more about. So maybe we'll have you back.
Again,
coming back.
Let's do a series.
Let's do a series just on graphics because I'm a layman when it comes to illustrations, graphics, and text and fonts and typologies. But there's a whole world that exists in this world where I've barely scratched the surface, but you can really get into it. Next up, can you tell us 3 tools that you cannot live without? That could be tech, or it could be a software, or it could be an illustrator, or anything.
Probably on a daily basis, I use Grammarly.
Okay.
Right, so there's no excuse anymore for designers not being able to spell because it's a bit notorious, right? You get spelling mistakes. So Grammarly is excellent for running through text. I write a lot of copy, and it does help me grammatically and with spelling because at English at school I was pretty box standard. I wasn't particularly talented in English. In fact, I found it a struggle. So the fact that now in my job, I actually write copy, I'm really proud of. And actually, that's what I tell a lot of young people. And I tell my kids, I'm like, just because you're not good at this at school doesn't mean you can't do it when you're older. Same with running a business, right? There's a lot of finance and that side of it. I wasn't very good at maths. doesn't mean you can't run a business.
Yeah.
I'm actually very astute with the finances and staying on top of it and understanding how a business runs. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Grammarly. Okay, great.
And others.
Yeah.
Do you want some more?
Yeah.
Two more. Miro.
Okay.
It's a kind of a collaborative workboard.
Yeah.
So you're like this.
Second person who's recommended Miro.
Yeah. It is great because of working, you work with different people. I don't know about you. So even with PowWow or on my own, I'm working with different people in different places. And it's great because it doesn't limit the talent that you can then use. But Miro board, you can share in real time. And actually, it was a client that introduced it. Their marketing team started a Miro board when they were brainstorming and got us involved in it. So we could all see it at the same time and share ideas. So really, Miro, I think I've scraped the surface of what it can do, but a brilliant kind of online whiteboard tool.
And the last one?
Well, it's got to be Adobe, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you saw the latest conference, but they launched their new AI products. Game-changing, mind-blowing. And I'm already using it. So when it comes to photography, extending a canvas, no more feathering and trying to patch it up. It does it for you in seconds. I mean, Adobe are really leading the way. I use it absolutely every day. I could not live without it.
So at this point, listeners or watchers of this regular podcast will clock on. Anyone from Grammarly, Miro, or Adobe watching, we are looking for sponsors. And please get in touch. My email's in the show notes below somewhere.
Keywords. When you post it.
Exactly. One thing
They'll come hunting for you.
Please come hunting for me. I live in Northwest London. The last thing is, a lot of my friends have been like, are you worried about AI taking your job? And I think it actually makes you more productive and more creative because there's so much more you can do with the aid of AI. And, remains to be seen how far we can actually push this technology, and again, that's a conversation in itself.
Well, yeah, it is. And because a lot of my clients, especially with the agency, have AI products, one of the main things that's important to market is AI can deliver the data, but you need the human touch. Yeah. We'll always need the human touch. What I hope is we don't lose sight of that and people miss out. But I would say we can have a good balance of AI and human interaction in work. And I think, I look at Adobe and I think, could someone just one day kind of type in what they want and it spits out this amazing design, but you lose so much in that process. Kinetic energy is really important. It's why working collaboratively is really important. And I don't think that we'll ever lose that.
I mean, again, this is a conversation worthy in itself. I want to do justice to it at a later episode.
Part of the series.
Part of the series, exactly. Shining Kingdom and Sad Sing. Two alliterations, SS, KK.
Yeah.
How can people get hold of you if they wanted to kind of reach out to you, ask questions, get more book recommendations? LinkedIn, I think, is the obvious tool. Karen Kingdom, so it's very easy.
Yeah, Karen Kingdom. You'll find me and see me on there, so you should recognise me. That's probably the best way, because you do have to filter a lot, don't you, right, from those naughty sponsored posts that come through and those messages. So when a genuine contact, like we met at a networking event, and then we connected online, and then you're like, email please, because it's, gets a bit finicky on LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is the best way, and you can see on there a bit of background what I do. If you've got any questions, I'm always happy to help people, particularly graduates or young people who might need some advice and some help. I'm used to working with people who do work experience and getting people on a path. I appreciate how difficult it is. Yeah. Oh my goodness, it is difficult to get into the industry. But once you're there, you can fly.
So thank you so much, Karen. Usually we say any final words that you want to leave.
Wow. Okay. I just think believe in yourself. Always believe in yourself and your ability and what you can do. Enjoy what you do, and probably just leave space in your head to receive, and everything will work out.
On that note, thank you very much for watching. Please join us next week on an exciting episode. Even Natalia's laughing over there. Thank you again for your time, Karen.
No worries.
And
It's been a pleasure.